Today we feature an epic showdown of miniature proportions. In the left corner, we have the entry-level FDM printer starting around $200, the Ender 3. And in the right corner, we have the entry-level resin printer starting around $500. Is the extra cost worth it?
Let's duke it out and see who wins. Hey there, I'm Danny, the 3D Printing DM. Welcome to 3D Printing Tabletop, a channel where we cover all things related to 3D printing for your tabletop games. Over in the Facebook group, the Tabletop 3D Printing Guild, it seems like every day there are questions on resin printers, and the top questions I see are one, whether somebody should save up and get a resin printer or whether they should just buy a cheaper $200 FDM printer. Two is whether the quality difference is really that big of a deal or that significant and whether it's worth the extra cost. And three, how durable are the resin prints compared to the printed miniatures from an FDM printer. I won't get into the cost of resin specifically because that requires its own little video, but I did kind of get into a little bit in this video if you want to check that out and see maybe the cost comparisons between FDM and resin prints. If at any point in today's video you decide that you've made your mind, you're ready to purchase a 3D printer, shopping with the links down in the description below is a great way to support the channel at no additional cost to you, and I definitely appreciate it greatly. So the first question, should you save up for the extra detail of the resin printer, or should you buy the cheaper, little lower quality FDM printer? Well, the biggest factor that's gonna affect how I answer that is, what are you gonna be printing? You know, if you're only planning on printing minis, there's no question for me, save up and get the resin printer. Why? Because that is literally what this kind of 3D printing technology is for. It's for small, detailed pieces. Really, this makes it the undisputed winner for 30mm minis or below. The process of printing in resin is something you're also gonna get used to very quickly when you start. So, you know, I don't think ease of use should necessarily be a factor if you're after quality. If the quality of your miniatures matters, I really think resin is worth the extra cost. That's my personal opinion. And definitely FDM does do a better job of printing bigger miniatures like 35mm and above. But the truth is it's never gonna be as clean as a DLP or an SLA printer, as you'll see in these prints throughout the video. Now, if you wanna print terrain only, there's really no question in my mind, get the FDM printer. Why? Not only because of the cost savings, but you're not gonna be satisfied with the cost of printing terrain on a resin printer, and it's never gonna have the build volume that you want to print things like you see here. Here's a demo of the build volume of the Photon versus the Ender 3. And as you can see, great for minis, not so great for terrain and other big pieces. Of course, the quality of a resin printer is superior, but for most entry-level printers, it just isn't sustainable to print terrain in this type of resin printer. Exception, of course, small bits like this would be just fine in resin, but honestly, they look just fine in FDM in my opinion. Also, some folks cast their resin prints, and that is definitely another viable option if that's the route you want to go, but I would say that very few people are doing this in reality with their resin prints at the end of the day, so it's not a huge factor in my decision to say, definitely get an FDM printer. I still stand by that recommendation. Now, I think for most people, they fall into this third camp, which is if you want to print both minis and terrain. And my vote here is honestly with the FDM with the $200 Ender 3. Why? Because $200 is a cheap enough investment to get you started in the hobby, and for the quality that you get, for the build volume and everything that you can get now from a $200 printer, it's a no-brainer for me. And I think that the quality of both minis and terrain is decent enough for you to decide, you know, whether you're ready to take that extra step and get a resin printer afterwards or not. Even printing bigger minis like you see here can still be really expensive on a resin printer, you know, even after you hollow them, and you can get pretty good results after all is said and done on an FDM printer, even on with these bigger miniatures. So, and either way, if you do want to do terrain, 99% of the time, you're going to end up with an FDM printer either way. So you're just postponing the highest quality of minis and when you're going to get it. And really, I'd say if you really are enjoying the process of 3D printing like I do, you know, save a little bit more and get that resin printer after you get that cheap $200 FDM printer. That way you have the best of both worlds. Second question, is the quality difference really worth it? The only person who can ultimately answer this is you. I can't decide what level of quality is acceptable at your table or with your games. I think the best way to do that is to show you examples of the same print in both resin and FDM and paint print jobs from the same person. Most people, when they see this kind of a comparison, have one of two reactions. It's either, dude, I need that resin printer, I'm getting one today. Or it's, I think that FDM print is actually pretty good quality and definitely tabletop standard for me. I'll take that extra $300 and save it or buy filament or whatever with it. I'm okay with that. Both answers are perfectly valid in my opinion. It's why this is probably one of the most important aspects of it, and it's why I show you these quality shots on screen so you can see for yourself. Finally, how durable are resin prints against printed FDM minis? Let's do a quick table height drop test. Find out. All right. Honestly, I've had breaks in both FDM and resin prints, and a lot of support removal has similar issues with both kinds of prints in my experience. The only variable really with resin is that you can use different kinds of resins to get less brittle prints. There's supposedly flex resins that already exist and that are coming out that will solve this problem, but I haven't personally tested them myself, so I can't really speak to their quality. For those of you who might still have questions, leave a comment below and let me know what exactly you'd like me to cover with both FDM and resin prints. And if you have experience with either of these technologies, why not leave your experience down as well for the rest of the community to gain from and learn from. If you're one of those people that likes to do a little bit more research, why not check out the video that I have over there where I review one of the printers I talk about today, the Creality Ender 3, that $200 option. That's a great entry-level budget printer for those who are interested in breaking in. Go ahead and click subscribe while you're at it. Once again, thanks for being here. Happy printing and happy gaming.